Welcome up, what is back? Today we are going to be starting a new run in Victoria 3, and we are going to be playing as Great Qing. Now if you do it through this menu here, you can get the opportunity to get the Caretaker achievement, which you have to do the entire Egalitarian Society track. We will also be going for the Western Protectorate achievement, where you have to get treaty ports on all of the kind of major powers, and then we will also be going for a world conquest. And to that end, we're going to be setting up here. So, the current situation is China has a few really unique things about it. The first and most obvious is you have one of the largest starting populations in the game, and you have an enormous amount of arable land in a lot of your territories that are kind of, you know, in the southeast China. The biggest, I think, is Jiangxi, which has like 1,500 arable land, which allows them to pull and keep a lot of their population here, because migration is in part, or the migration equilibrium is in part based on the amount of arable land you have in terms of the overcrowding modifier, and so when you have a lot of arable land, you can get a lot of migration. So the first thing we're going to do is we are actually going to set a decree down here to encourage manufacturing, because we are going to build manufacturing there. Okay, the second thing that's kind of unique about China, I guess we can take a look at their building first. In Beijing, you actually have a unique building, and I think this is the most powerful unique building in the game, and that is the Forbidden City. The Forbidden City gives you plus 50 authority, plus 25 prestige, and plus 20 legitimacy from being included in head government. Obviously, the authority and the legitimacy are the really big ones, which means you will just be super legitimate all the time, even if you like mess around a little bit in terms of how your government looks. So it'll be really easy to maintain the high legitimacy, which is actually more useful now in 1.1 because it gives you these righteous government modifier type stuff. So we're gonna have minus 50% enactment tide and a ton of loyalists for standard of living increases, this sort of thing. The third thing that's kind of unique about China is you have three unique interest groups, and the first is the scholar officials, which has the scholar gentry, which makes them support appointed bureaucrats, which is normally they support hereditary bureaucrats and oppose the other two. So that's kind of the first big change. And the second is they don't have an opinion at all on your economic system. They neither support nor oppose anything, which is a bit different. Normally the landowners support traditionalism, so getting rid of traditionalism is hard, but it's quite a bit easier for China. You can switch to agrarianism pretty early, but important thing to emphasize with this enormous population is kind of slow moving in terms of all institutions. You know, it's 3,500 to give one level of an institution, which is a huge amount, so you have to build a lot of government admin centers in order to do anything, so we're not going to be passing any institutions early, and also switching to agrarianism from traditionalism. Traditionalism does give you minus 25% bureaucracy population cost modifier, so switching from this to this will cost us about like 2k admin, and so we can't do it at the very, very start, but it is going to be something we do early because we want that tasty investment pool transfer. Okay. The second unique interest group they have is the literati, which normally there's a fourth. They have liberal, Republican, and anti-slavery, but normally there's a fourth one that makes them support kind of the anti-religious stuff, which is not there. So getting rid of state religion is basically impossible in China unless you get someone who has like the nihilist ideology, I think is the only way to do this, or some other ideology that allows you to just go from freedom of conscience to total separation or something like this, which is a bit of a unique thing. Also, they don't support schools at all. So if you want to get schools, you're going to need to empower the industrialists or the trade unions. And the third unique group is the Confucian scholars, which have Confucian, which makes them like mega support, you know, both state religion and freedom of conscience, which is not normally, I don't think, oh wait, yeah, they will also always support that in terms of the religious group, but they mega support outlaw dissent, which I think normally they just endorse censorship for whatever the religious group is. Okay, and yeah, so kind of three unique interest groups. What we will do at the very start with our authority is we're going to empower the industrialists, and we're also going to empower the armed forces, because these two are going to have the first kind of laws we want to pass, and we will add a few consumption taxes. Notably, we are not going to tax opium, because we are about to ban opium, and we're going to leave about 100 of that open and available because we are going to lose it once the Opium Wars start. Kind of what we'll be doing in this episode is mainly either fighting the Opium War or figure out a way to not have to fight it, and we're going to go contingent. The reason we're going contingent instead of mandatory service into line infantry is this isn't fast enough to help us with the Opium War, and so we're just going to go right into our industrialization, and the reason we want to do this is we want to go contingent lathe. That way we have all the tier 1 techs researched. Once all of those are researched, also unique about China, we get sericulture, which gives the silk plants throughput bonus. But what's unique about China, or sorry, why we are doing this route is we want to get atmospheric engine, because we have such a large economy at the very start of the game. What we are basically going to be doing at the very start is going to be just building a ton of construction, building iron mines, and getting a ton of iron so that we can use iron frame buildings cheaply. And to that end, we really want atmospheric engine, because a lot of our early buildings are going to be mines, so that we can push down this cost of iron as much as possible to make our construction cheap. So we're going to do that, and then later we want to, again, research a bunch of tier 1 society texts to get rid of the malice, because we start pretty backward, and then get central archives, so that we can start putting in institutions, switching to agrarianism, this type of thing. This is the game plan moving forward. We are about to have the Opium War, which is kind of a unique feature of China, and so we are going to switch everything to cannon artillery, and then we are going to import a bunch of cannons, and we'll go into the diplomacy tab. We will switch this interest over here to Austria. That way we can import cannons from Austria, and as well as we will later want to import iron from Austria. And then we will do a couple things in the diplomacy as well. We will improve relations with Great Britain, because sometimes they just don't want to go to war with you if you improve relations with them, which is unique. And then we will also declare rivalries with some of these guys down here, because we will want to subjugate them anyways, and we want to get a large amount of excess influence so that we can decay our infamy. And we are going to accrue infamy at the very, very start. We're going to start damaging relations with Portugal. And secondly, we are going to expel their diplomats. The reason we are doing this is we actually want Portugal to join the war against Great Britain, because then the entire front will start in Macau, and we can just slowly bleed them from Macau. If Portugal is not in, which doesn't always happen, they will instead try and land Beijing, which makes it very, very easy for them to get the war goal, because the war goal is the capital. If instead they start in Macau and they try and push to Beijing, it's going to take them forever. Okay, and then third is, generally what we're doing in terms of our construction is we are just ramping up construction as much as possible. Now, there is a thing that's bugged, so as soon as you get the Opium War event, your construction queue just clears. Obviously, this is no good, but we are just going to ramp up here specifically, because we are going to encourage manufacturing here later. Or did we already start encouraging it? I forgot. Yeah, we're already encouraging it. But we are going to build manufacturing here, but we just have to worry about building a few construction centers until we get this event, which clears our construction queue for whatever reason. It cleared it in 1.06, it still clears it in 1.1, or that has been my experience when starting this run, and so, okay. Another thing is, we eventually, in terms of our expansion, what we want to do is we want to get subjects and then integrate the subjects, that way our infamy doesn't go too high. No, don't damage our relations, Russia. And so all of our subjects we're going to damage relations with, and the reason we are so what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and keep our infamy low. If the infamy is low, it can be easy to pull people into our customs union once we can bankroll them, which is not until we have central banking. Which is not too far down the tech tree. It's right here. But what we will want to do is pull them into our customs union, and then once they're in our customs union, we want to make them into a tributary, and once they're a tributary, then we want to damage relations with them, and then vassalize them. Now, we only want to do this if the cost of vassalizing them is significantly more than 5, because if it's less than 5, it's better to just vassalize, because making them into tributary costs 5 infamy if you are a unrecognized major power. It decreases once you're recognized. But that's kind of the plan, and we're just going to kind of start here, trying to keep our infamy low, and then eventually we will turn the corner where we can start declaring wars on great powers, breaking them up into pieces, and then vassalizing the pieces. We have to do something. Oh no! And so now we're going to ban the opium trade, which will give us the ticking score on the opium crisis, and will also incite the US to, or sorry, the UK to want to fight us. We are also going to import cannons from everyone we can. And then soon we will have our interest in Austria, and we can import cannons from them as well. And our construction queue empties because it's bugged. So there we go. Now we will set a real construction queue. And we will put down 10 there. So we're going to be building a lot there, at least early on. And then we will take a look at where has the most peasants and just build those up a little bit. Alright. Once we get all these construction centers finished, we are going to want to build some iron mines, because that is going to be how we get our interest here. So we can import more. But we are going to want to build iron mines, and we're going to specifically, not an iron trade route, but an iron mine. And we are going to focus on areas that have a lot of excess infrastructure and peasants. So this will be fine. And what the iron will allow us to do is it will allow us to switch to iron frame building and not be completely unprofitable. We're going to switch to sawmills because we do have some tooling workshops there that have no demand, so those will ramp up, and that will be all good. I think that's the only switch you have to make at the start in terms of the buildings, is the switch to the sawmills. But now, kind of just waiting for them to declare war on us, and they do. So we will mobilize everyone at the start and activate all of our conscripts in the hopes that we can maybe get them to back down, but AI usually doesn't do that. They sometimes do. And we will make the war goal just war reps. Now, we really want to have everyone already mobilized when they land, because they will likely land Beijing, and if it's not fully mobilized, you're just going to have a really bad time already. It's a decent chance you have a bad time anyways. Don't know what this is about. Why they don't have an interest here, or Portugal does not have an interest. That's a little bit... This might be a little bit of a buggy run. It would be preferable for Portugal to have an interest, actually, because we, again, want them to be pushing out of Macau instead of landing us. And they started to improve relations with us. Wild. Yeah, please. And we'll just give them whatever they want. We can't declare war on them while they have a obligation from us, but that's fine. We don't necessarily need to vassalize them super early. Okay. I mean, I guess we could import artillery from them at the start while the other trade routes ramp up. But, yeah, we are doing nice in terms of that. And they are confident. We're relatively confident too here. We are going to try and keep a really close eye on the landing itself. These guys cannot possibly stop them from invading, but what they can do is they can raid the supply network. Great Britain, they will not. They're useless for stopping an invasion, just because Great Britain has way more ships. I'm gonna take a look at the journal. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Spain wants a trade agreement, but I don't think we're doing any kind of trade with them, so we'd rather just have the Diplo. We do have a little bit of infamy from kicking out the Portuguese from our thing, which normally they're supposed to be able to join, but they couldn't, so this may be a little bit of a scuffed run. It may not be. We'll see. We just have to be quick about getting everyone on the front. Politician died. We're going to take a look at that. Yuan. He's industrialist, which is not currently powerful. And we have a war. Now, as soon as they land, we got to get everyone to the front, and also we want to re-land them behind so that they lose access to all of their supply. And this is just a war of kind of attrition, because the only thing we can do is kick them off of our, fronts, and then we can't land them ourselves. We can't push into them anywhere, and so that's kind of the state of affairs here. It ain't much, but it'll be honest work. So it's just waiting for seeing the naval invasion go through, and then this is the war. This is how it works. Yeah. Okay. Well, we only have one choice, so it's boosting industries. And we have their landing. So, again, the strategy is get everyone on the front and try and re-land them. Are they going to fail a landing? No, they're not. I've never seen the British fail this landing. We did mobilize all the conscripts, right? Yeah, we did. Alright, that's not too bad a starting front. We're going to assign everyone in North China to this front and then have a look. Why are you... Because you're already at the front, I guess. Currently involved in the fight. We're just going to assign everyone here, and then we are going to land them from behind with some of these. I guess we'll navally invade first. You are currently fighting. And hopefully their front, yeah, they're just going to lose their front instantly here, it looks like. Oh, maybe not. Yep. Perfect. This guy did not get assigned prompt enough. And it is this game of whack-a-mole we will be playing for the next 20 minutes or something like this. In terms of, I guess talking about like kind of more macro plays, how the expansion's going to work is we are going to go first into here and get some vassals and then try and see who is cheap to vassalize here versus integrate. I think most of these guys will not be cheap to vassalize, but for example, once we start colonizing, we're probably going to vassalize Argentina and all through here. Rather than, get them to be a protectorate and then vassalize them is the way that costs the least amount of infamy. We're now running a huge government expense. Let's double check what's expensive here. I think it's mainly military wages that have gone up, yeah. Yep. We can afford to pay this for a little while, though. It's all about trying to, but I guess we will not be turning on some of these methods yet. Let's see if we can import softwood. No, we cannot. Even if we set this, we can now. We'll import from Russia. Don't want to use the convoys for the Ottomans. Again, trying to keep an eye on this. Maybe we can import fabric as well, although fabric should be pretty cheap. These are what we're spending money on in terms of, yeah, it's cheap. We will set it to protect, because we don't want people to import from us. I'm going to keep it nice and cheap. We will, let's see, take a look. Just set the iron mines we are building to auto-build, and we'll also set clothiers, which are the most profitable thing, to auto-build, and these will also auto-build. Kind of just in terms of fixing things up while we wait for the next naval invasion to happen, which will assuredly happen. This is fine. Nothing's wrong. We're just going to do that and stem the bleeding a little bit. They will start decaying faster than us as long as we can keep them off of this. We did decay quite a bit when they tried to make their landing, but they are not always trying to make their landing. You know, this war is a little bit tough. It's easier if Portugal's in here, which, notably, that was kind of a bug for us at the start. If you can get Portugal in, you can just stall them out over here. They do not advance their front very quickly. The problem is when they land Beijing, they already start on the war goal, so they get a ticking war goal. If they get a landing, they always get a landing. But if you can get them over here, they get gummed up and never make any forward progress, which is the situation is going to be over here. We will switch to the other tier 1 tech, and then once lathe finishes, we will, well, first of all, we're going to want some lead once lathe finishes, and then we will also do atmospheric engine, because almost everything we're doing right now is mining based, so that is something we want to do. I suppose we will also put some coal in the queue. Very tempted to... Yeah, we want to go burr. We're going to go burr. And turn up to iron frame. Because I don't even think we have sufficient demand for iron, really, at this current juncture. And we're just building a bunch of iron mines. We have to create the demand for it. Now, let's see where has a bunch of excess infrastructure in terms of where we're building this. There we go. And we will set those coal mines to auto-expand as well. For now. Those two. We're setting those to auto-expand because, unlike arable land, they cannot overexpand, and we do want to make sure we get economies of scale bonus with what we're expanding, but that's not the most important yet. Now we switch you over. Basically, the heuristic if it's under 3k per level, I'm going to be switching them over. And also keeping an eye here in Beijing, because we have to, as soon as they land, we have to be very tentative, or attentive, rather. And we can stop damaging relations with Portugal. It doesn't matter anymore because they can't join the war. Just have to be very attentive here, because the name of the game is putting everyone on the front and then also landing them in the back so that they lose supply. Doesn't seem to have a very profound effect, but the effect is big enough. One notable change about 1.1 is, man, do radicals decrease quickly as a result of high legitimacy, so which you are virtually guaranteed with both your starting laws and having the Forbidden City, so China's a little bit stronger 1.1, I think. Although this starting like little tussle with the Opium Wars is a little bit worse. We do want to do it though, because we want to get rid of our opium addiction on our pups. If you take a look in terms of... Let's take a look at Han. We start off with an obsession for opium, which will notably... It's better to have no obsessions if you can, because then the pops will consume whatever the cheapest luxury good is, instead of spending more money for their obsession, so it's more efficient. They substitute goods more efficiently, so like if opium's expensive, they'll just consume tobacco instead. But now if opium's expensive, they just keep consuming opium, which is not as ideal. We're going to take a quick look. You should be able to switch over it, yeah. And this one is going to be... We're going to wait a few minutes and then do Jiangxi, which is going to be the largest swap, which is going to run us into a huge deficit, but that's fine. Everything's fine. We're okay. Kind of just waiting for the next landing here. You know. Yep. This is, like, having to pay so close attention to a war when it's supposed to, like, auto-micromanage in Victoria 3 is a little bit interesting. But I think this is the only war where I feel the need to pay close attention to it. Much less so if they just get stalled out in Macau. We could probably increase speed a little bit, but I do want to be able to respond somewhat quickly and also work on other things. Tools are becoming a little bit expensive. Why don't we kick a tooling workshop to the top of the queue here. Because the tools are used for all the mining, and they're also used for the iron frame construction, so we are going to need some more tools. And we kick 2 to the top. And this war is going quite well. We're just looking to decay them down to a white piece for the most part. Which, they start off at minus 200, so they recognize that the war is stalling out. It'll be interesting to see how 1.1 kind of makes a bit of a difference. Generally, they're supposed to accept white pieces a little bit faster in 1.1. But we'll see how that goes exactly. So... Ottomans start their play with Egypt. And we get landed in the 2 seconds we look away. Oh no. Let's see, is this under 30k? It of course will cause like a much bigger problem than it appears like it will cause, but just a little bit of a speed bump. Well, it's a big speed bump. We'll probably wait for the tools to finish before activating that. Iron's getting cheaper. Perfect. Artillery too. Also quite good. Come out, wherever you are. We actually just don't want them to land again, which would be the most ideal. Gonna check the peace thing. It is slowly ticking down. Yeah. Let's see if there's a modifier they know they're... So white piece is going up. So the value of white piece just slowly ticks up as well, I guess, as long as they don't control the war goal is my guess in terms of how that mechanic works, which they currently do not. But they will quite easily once they land Beijing. It'd be much easier if they landed anywhere else, but they won't. This makes wars against China actually probably easier than they should, because you just get to land Beijing, and then just as long as you can hold your landing strip, you will, you know, kind of just do well enough. Opium smugglers, we'll return them in shackles. This is the one we're going to do, like, always, unless we have an authority deficit, but... As soon as this tooling workshop finishes, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this next tier construction here. Which will cause an iron shortage, I think. Well, do I have to? Actually, I'm going to turn on other ones. Alright, so we're going to pause and switch a bunch of things over. Yeah, we're going to switch over this first for more construction, and then we will switch over to lathes, which will require a lot more tools. Well, dye workshops will be the better switch. This, I think we can afford it at the start right now, and then we'll go atmospheric engine. As planned. Notice the atmospheric engine, if we research it first, it's like 6 years or 8 years. Now that we have finished all of the things, it is only 36 months or 34 months, whatever it was at the start. Still haven't had a landing. We are running a shortage. The shortage has a target penalty of 5%, which isn't too bad. I'm guessing that shortage is on tools, because we turned on the thing, but we just finished a tooling workshop, so maybe we can get it to be supported. Yeah, so as this finishes employment, it should be fine. Yeah, and it already auto-adjusted out of it. Perfect. And then we will switch to lead glass once enough of these lead mines finish. And then, in order to create a demand for coal, we are going to turn on the lights in some of our cities. Just coal lighting. Let's see. Yep, you are not landing as much as you do normally. We repulsed the first landing pretty handedly, though. Once they land, you just want to re-land them behind. It's kind of one of the things you can do. Not a whole lot you can do. Their army is much stronger than yours. Panjiang retires. We just want to check the new guy's ideology. Moderate. Is that a... no, okay. For a second I thought that was a vanguardist, which you shouldn't be able to get this early in the tech tree. Yeah, this war's going nowhere, guy. You should just give up. Now, we do want the opium crisis to go away, so we're not going to actually be a naughty boy. Or we will not start any wars we aren't 100% sure that they'll, like... If we think they'll back down, we can start wars after this war. But in general, we don't actually fight a war while we have opium crisis, because we'd rather just get rid of the opium crisis. Also, we will have a 5-year truce with Great Britain at the end of this, and they can just re-declare war on us if we don't get rid of this. So actually, we'll probably just sit tight and not start any wars after this war is over, if we win this war. If we lose this war, we'll probably just restart the run, but that's how things go sometimes. It's really how things go if you're playing on Iron Man. But, okay, so some lead buildings finished. We will switch over some of our glass production to use lead. We notably start off with a huge amount of glass production, so... And it says it will lose a bunch of money, but that's just because there isn't enough supply of lead, because the lead mines don't have anything to do, so they can't ramp up, and they will start ramping up. And then this one should be very profitable. It should be very profitable. It's actually quite a lot of lead requirement. It will take 5 lead mines just to support this with even prices, so 3 lead mines should be able to support it with really high price lead. But we want to slowly swap all that stuff over. And once we finish atmospheric engine, that's why we're getting the coal right now, because we want to have coal already in our market when atmospheric engine finishes. It does require coal. Will you take the white piece? You will not. You are getting closer and closer. The white piece number is going up, and the war support's going down, so... looking forward to that. I wonder if we could turn on more construction. Iron's kind of expensive still, so we will not do it yet. Now we can start switching to agrarianism, but we don't want to do that quite yet because we can't really support it in terms of... Oop. Southern Manchuria actually doesn't have as much infrastructure as we thought, so we'll take those out. But we cannot support switching over because it'll take about 2k administration from the change from traditionalism, which gives you less cost for bureaucracy for your peoples. Interesting to not see another landing. I'm not sure if this is good luck or bugginess. Probably switch another one of these over. Yep, we can. And definitely nice that they're not making too much progress. We are going to have to open their market before we can, like, get them to like us, so normally we would kind of... Japan's like one where we want to pull them into our market, but it's going to take a little while the way we want to do it. Because we want to make them a tributary and then vassalize them once they're a tributary, because vassalizing a tributary is much less, and you can get a tributary for only 5 infamy, and so overall it'll be much less infamy cost. I'm gonna up the speed to try and get through this war, because we have to watch this very closely, because if we don't... okay, for a second I thought that was the, not the petite bourgeoisie, but the landowners supporting that, or the scholar genre, as it were. Now we are going to turn on gas streetlights here, which will create demand for Do a promotion. This guy always gets promoted, and he's pretty good. We wish he had an offensive thing, but it seems that, generally speaking, if someone's a popular commander, they get the demand for the promotion way more often. Just something to keep in mind. And as soon as this ticks, we are going to propose that peace deal. We are going to turn on the lights here as well. Just so that there's a little bit of demand for coal, so these coal things can be profitable and ramp up before we get an atmospheric engine. And we're going to propose the peace deal, and they will accept it. White peace, please. And that is... Now we are... Oh, let's get the event. Oh, wait. We will... I think... call this a session here. We fought the Opium Wars, we won. We did all the kind of starting steps for China, the starting considerations. In terms of what you have at the start, you actually have interesting 3 unique interest groups that will notably prevent you from going any type of separation, but allows you to go any economic system you want pretty easily, and also kind of supports outlawed dissent and this sort of thing. So it kind of supports this repressive, high authority playstyle. And also, just being able to switch to this early is kind of nice. Some things to keep in mind is you have an enormous population, so institutions will be extremely expensive, so we're not swapping that over early. As far as tech is going, we are just beelining the atmospheric engine as our main strategy, and then we are going to switch over and try and get central archives so that we can enact colonization and agrarianism. That's probably what we will be doing next episode, in addition to getting, what is it called here? The opium crisis to completely end, which we will get an event which will boost our standard of living. But that is for next episode. Anyways, if you like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm stuff, all this stuff. If you've been sitting for a while, maybe take a walk, move your legs, and have a good one.